Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about one of the most common questions we hear in our industry, and that is how much does a new kitchen actually cost in 2025 and what might it cost going into 2026? In this video I'm going to break down different budget levels, what you can achieve with how much you've got, and maybe some tricks to upgrade you to that higher tier without necessarily spending too much more money. So let's start with up to £10,000. So I'd love to say you could get a full kitchen for under £10,000, but these days, or since COVID, it's been harder and harder to achieve that, and it's certainly not something we've done in the last 5 years or so. If your budget is under £10,000, you're usually looking at a kitchen refresh rather than a full new kitchen. And what I mean by refresh is commonly we will remove all the doors and end panels and plinths and cornice and pelmets and all the bits that you see from the outside, and we can replace them with maybe something a little bit more modern, or whatever style you want. So it looks like a brand new kitchen, but the layout stays the same, and your internals, so your actual cabinetry, stays the same. It's a way to give the effect of a new kitchen without spending too much. Within that as well, within the £10,000, we can generally include replacing the worktops too and the appliances. So 9 times out of 10 with these, we tend to keep the same integrated appliances such as your dishwasher, integrated fridge, freezers, things like that. But certainly the ones that you see on the outside, so your ovens, your hob, your extractors, they tend to get replaced in jobs like these. There's usually more labour than people anticipate with door swap jobs, just because obviously swapping a door is very, very easy to do. But changing things like end panels is quite hard when you're not removing the full kitchen. So it can be quite a time-consuming process, but generally we can keep these under the 10k mark. So let's talk about between 10,000 to 15,000. This tends to be the most common budget that I see. It's people that understand that you can't get kitchens for £10,000 anymore, but the budget's still, we want to keep it on the lower end, and that's fine. And we do a lot of kitchens within this range. So typically, if a client asks for a kitchen between 10 to 15,000, immediately I'd be saying absolutely fine, but try and stick to your slab style doors. So whether that's just a plain slab, which is the least expensive kitchen you can get, or like a J-pull door as well, which is a tier up, but it's still quite affordable. For the worktops, I'd probably be suggesting sticking with laminate worktops, which are obviously the lower end, but we can get nice embossed premium effect laminates. So it doesn't have to be cheap and cheerful all the time. Sometimes within the 10 to 15k budget, we can actually upgrade to a lower band quartz, like a Carrara marble. It all depends on, and this is something we talk about a lot with kitchens, it all depends on your priority. So if you're somebody that sort of cooks very specific meals and you need appliances that can cater for that, such as steam cooking or self-cleaning ovens or venting hobs, if your priority is on the gadgets and the appliances in the kitchen, it might be that we need to claw back on other things such as worktops or storage. If your priority is I need lots of workspace because I do a lot of baking, then fine, maybe we can claw back on some of the appliances, maybe go the lesser brand, or not have as many drawers in the kitchen. Like it's all down to your priority. But every now and then within the 10 to 15k budget range, we can upgrade it to those quartz worktops and keep it within that budget. And of course, within that as well comes the other parts of the kitchen. So a sink, a tap, probably not a boiling tap. But again, it all depends. If you go laminate tops, you could probably afford to get a boiling tap. If you go quartz tops, you probably can't get a boiling tap. So there's always a sacrifice here and there, but yeah, it's doable. So the 15 to 20k range, then this is probably what we tend to fit the most. It's maybe not so much what people inquire the most, but it tends to end up what we end up selling more. The reason for that is a lot of people come in with the 10 to 15k budget, and once they see things like quartz or the premium appliances or the different pull-out options, naturally that budget creeps up. But if you do upgrade it to the 15 to 20k mark, then yes, you can get a little bit more. So usually, yes, we can get quartz on a low to mid sort of level. So again, sticking to your Carraras, the general rule of thumb is if there's not too much pattern in it, then it will be a lower end quartz. But a lot of quartz is down to supply and demand. So for a slab or a colour that sells a lot will be less than the one that doesn't sell as much. Which is why the quartz with like glitter or sparkles or Miraflex in them, they tend to be the least expensive, because they sell so much in new builds and things like that. In terms of the kitchen style, between 15 to 20k, I would suggest, you can go with slab doors, you can go with J-pull doors, you can go with shaker doors. I just probably wouldn't recommend going down the painted solid timber shaker door route. I'd be pushing towards something like a 5-piece foil wrapped shaker, which in itself is, can work better for people anyway, because it's a tougher finish. It doesn't chip like paint chips. But the big thing is it's more affordable. So if your budget's 15 to 20k, I'd be saying a 5-piece foil wrapped shaker door, quartz worktops, mid-range appliances, like a Bosch Series 2 or a Capel or something like that. And yeah, I'd probably say within that range as well, you could upgrade to a Kuka boiling tap or a Capel boiling tap or Franca or whatever brand you choose. All right, so £20,000 to £30,000, I would then class as a premium kitchen. So I'd then say you're looking at a solid timber shaker door, or a German style kitchen, which kind of a solid timber shaker door will be more expensive than a German style kitchen, but not too much more. And they both kind of sit in that price range. For sure, I'd say you can get a nice sort of mid-range, even a 30mm quartz top. You can kind of upgrade to a more wacky colour if you wanted to. Your appliances, we're probably looking at like a set of Neff appliances. You can go with more gadgets. You can go with like backflip sockets in the worktops. You can add more lighting, especially in a German style kitchen. You can add more lighting around the kitchen. Kind of opens you up to more of the sort of luxury parts of the kitchen rather than just sticking to the fundamentals. But on sort of average, if your budget's between £20,000 to £30,000, I would say you can get a nice solid timber shaker style kitchen, 30mm quartz tops, a nice set of appliances, and probably squeeze a utility in that as well. So £30,000 and beyond is now, for us, starting to look at high end. If you really get to the bones of it, if your budget is over £30,000, then unless you've got a ridiculously big kitchen, we could, we can kind of go down the route of having a solid timber in-frame style shaker kitchen. We can get you nice 30mm solid quartz tops or granite tops. You can really spec up your appliances now, so we can go with maybe like Miele high-end Neff appliances, Fisher and Paykel. You know, a lot of the in-frame style kitchens also, you know, will put like a range cooker in or an Arga or something like that for sure. Yeah, with a 30 grand budget, it's all doable. As well, with these kind of budgets, we tend to see tall oven stacks with not just ovens in. So quite commonly we'll do like an integrated coffee machine or an integrated wine cooler that lines up with your ovens as well. So yeah, if your budget's over 30k, then we can really start putting in details that vamp it up to a super luxury kitchen. Obviously, as I mentioned before, you can keep going and going and going with kitchens, and this is why it's so important to have a conversation with an expert, because it's really the kitchen designer's job to understand what your priorities are and spec a kitchen based on them. You know, this is why these conversations are so important, because it's very hard for you as a client to just know what you want, whereas we do this day in, day out, and we know, you know, certain products work best for certain people, and that's why it's also really important to talk about budgets, because I don't want to suggest a load of things that's out of your price range. So, you know, this is all stuff that we talk about to customers, but from a sort of a managing expectations point of view, it's worth just having the mindset of, I might have to spend a little bit extra money. And if I don't, great, but I might have to. So there you have it, a complete breakdown of what kitchens in 2025 and going into 2026 looks like, from sort of budget-friendly refreshers to high-end luxury projects. Remember, the right budget for you depends on your home and your lifestyle and what you value most. So it's hard to talk about this sort of across the board because it's so personal to you. But if you found this helpful, just let me know in the comments and tell us what other questions you'd like answered. Thanks for watching, and good luck planning your kitchen project.